But hey, thanks for joining me, guys. This is an exciting one. It's a little bit out of season for what we're going to talk about. A little bit, not really. You can plead your case for that. But I'm joined with Ryan Helfert and Tom Fleischer.
Close enough.
Anyway, yeah. Again, thanks for calling in. Kind of how we got here is I know Ryan through some other buddies that we became friends now, and obviously a big time whitetail hunter, or tries to be anyway.
Yeah.
And I seen his videos posting stuff about the scrape rope company, and it's like all these scrape ropes, and it's like these ropes just like blew up over the last few years. It seems like, and so I'm like, maybe I need to get a hold of that guy and see what he's about and what's going on, and kind of what he does, what makes it stand out, why Ryan is promoting this guy so much, and he obviously believes in it. So I'll give you a chance to give your story.
A shout out to our sponsors, King's Home Furnishings and Design in Jasper. From appliances and mattresses to custom cabinetry and home upgrades, King's helps you make your house feel like a home. Locally owned and backed by price matched guaranteed. Visit King's in Jasper or online at kingsofjasper.com. Give old Matt Stahl a call today and he will get you set up. Classic Custom Carts is your one-stop shop for everything golf carts. Check out their beautiful new showroom in Washington, Indiana, where you can find huge selections of new, refurbished, and fully customized carts. If you need financing, they've got great options available. There's something for everyone. Free delivery within 25 miles, classic custom carts, custom rides, massive selection, unbeatable deals. Get in today. United Excavating and General Contracting, founded in 2008, offers a wide range of services like soil stabilization, site work, earthwork, and utilities. Handle everything from erosion control and demolition to water and sewer system installations. Over 15 years experience and dedicated team, they've successfully completed projects for over 100 clients. For more details, visit their website or call them directly. Support local and shop smart at Hillcrest Feed and Supply in Montgomery. From quality livestock feed and pet supplies to farm and outdoor essentials, Hillcrest has what you need at prices you can trust. Stop by today and see why farmers and families across Daviess County rely on Hillcrest Feed and Supply. If you're from or traveling through Montgomery, Indiana, make sure you stop at Knepp's Amish Country Corner. From fresh baked goods and homemade treats to local meats, cheeses, and everyday essentials, Knepp's has a little bit of everything. Don't miss their weekly lunch specials. Stop in for a perfect, quick, delicious stop. That fish and brisket taco is unbeatable. Knepp's Amish Country Corner, worth the stop every time.
So we'll just get started with Tom. Give us a little bit of information about yourself, where you're from, your background, where you're living, that kind of stuff.
Yeah, absolutely. I grew up here in central PA, about 40 minutes northwest of Harrisburg, in a little town, Perry County. Very small schools. I think I had 110 kids in my graduating high school class. So very small town, but I grew up hunting. Back then, we couldn't hunt until we were 12. So I remember I was in fourth grade, took my hunter safety course in school, passed it. And then as soon as I turned 12, I started hunting. And my dad hunted a little bit when he was younger, and he took me out, a handful of times, deer hunting, stuff like that. And basically after that, I just kind of started hunting on my own. I could walk out my back door, and back then I knew all my neighbors, everybody knew everybody, and you just went wherever you wanted to in the woods. Like I had access to hundreds of acres just right outside my back door. So squirrels, grouse, you name it, like I would just go out. It was awesome. So started that, grew up rifle hunting, did a lot of rifle hunting, killed a lot of deer with a rifle. Friends of ours had a deer camp. They lived closer to Harrisburg. They had a deer camp about 25 miles, west of where I grew up. So I would go up there. Back then, our deer season opened the Monday after Thanksgiving. It has since got moved to the Saturday after Thanksgiving. But back then, I would go up, stay with them. It was kind of rudimentary. Like the whole camp ran off of propane. There was no running water, coal stove for heat. So, it was cool. It's where I learned how to play poker and drink beer and all that kind of fun stuff. Right. So
yeah,
grew up doing that, went to college up in East Stroudsburg, which is in the northeastern part of our state here. Got together with a bunch of guys up there that hunted. We hunted a bunch of public ground up there all through college and the Delaware Water Gap, that part of the Poconos. Shot a handful of deer up there. Would still come back home and go to deer camp, and continue to hunt, with a rifle. And then graduated college. Met my wife at college. She's from Philadelphia. So once I graduated, we moved down into this area. We got married in '99, got an apartment, just outside the city. And I still would rifle hunt, I would 2 or 3, handful of times a year, nothing crazy. But 10 years ago, we moved from our current home. Back then, we just kind of outgrew it. We had 3 kids and we needed something bigger. So we ended up where we are now, which is in Bucks County. And I got out here and wanted to get back into archery hunting. So back then, they're 20 now. They were 9, so they were in Girl Scouts, sports and all kinds of activities. So at the time, I was like, what's the quickest, easiest thing to get me back into archery? It was a crossbow, right? So I bought a crossbow, got back into archery hunting. About 2 years of that, I was like, I need to shoot a compound. So, because all my buddies at the time were doing 3D shoots, and you can't use crossbows at those, right?
Right.
So it's kind of dumb anyway when you think about it, right? So got a crossbow, or put the crossbow down, picked up a compound, and just fell in love with it. So for the last 5 years, that's all I've been using is a compound, and I'm one step closer to probably going to a trad bow one day. I think I'm kind of trained. Shot a bunch of deer with a rifle. That was fun. And then started shooting the crossbow, and that was cool. But then the compound, and now it's like, all right,
You are drinking the archery Kool-Aid. You're
Oh,
going down fast.
yeah, yeah, stick with it. So
Yeah. Yeah. So 5 years you've been hunting with a bow, and now you when did you when did you first see like a rope? I'm gonna hang a rope from a tree, and that's where I'm gonna get going at here.
yeah, a couple of years ago, where I'm at, it's all suburban hunting, so it's all small parcels. I have a lot of permission pieces. I heard Ryan's podcast the other week about door knocking, right? That's I do a ton of that, and you get more no's than yeses. But over the years, I've been able to get some yeses, and I got a fair amount of properties all within like a 10-15 minute drive of my house, which is awesome. So I was like, you know what? I've used scent drippers. I've used some vines before. I was using some ropes a year or two ago that another guy actually closer to where I grew up was making. They're much smaller diameter. His were soaked in, some various different scents that he was selling and stuff like that. And I just wasn't like, they were small. They had no attachment method. They just kind of weren't doing it for me. And quite honestly, I needed to do more research on scrapes, just learn more about them, especially making mock scrapes, right? So I really started, doing a deep dive on that. And it was just this past last March or maybe February, I decided, this year I'm going all in on rope scrapes. So I started researching those. And that's when I came across a video that Don Higgins did on his YouTube channel. Don's been using these rope scrapes for a long time. And, I watched his video kind of outline how he does it, where he does it, when he does it, the rope he uses, how he attaches them, like the whole 9 yards, when he sets them up, like all that kind of stuff. And it just kind of clicked with me. So I ordered like 50 foot of rope, and much like Ryan was doing, just kind of started making them on my own.
Yep. Yeah. I guess I should start with, first of all, I don't know, most people probably listening to this know what we're talking about, what a rope scrape is. But like somebody that's completely ignorant about it, What is it and what's the purpose of it?
You just got to start with the purpose.
There you go.
What are scrapes, right? Yeah, I got some here too. Scrapes are how deer communicate, right? Deer don't communicate through deer urine. They communicate through glandular sense, whether that's forehead glands, preorbital glands, interdigital glands, tarsal glands. That's really how they communicate. And scrapes are the main place where a lot of that occurs, right? Whether it's a licking branch or the ground. So you got to start there. All the rope simply is just mimics a licking branch. It gives you a licking branch sometimes where there isn't one. You can add a rope to an existing licking branch if you want, but it basically its job is to mimic that licking branch and give the deer a point of contact to transfer that scent off of their head onto something else. Like a calling card to kind of leave their scent sent behind for the next deer to pick up on.
Right. And like you said earlier, you both kind of hunt the same similar type of stuff, like as far as the small little pieces, the little permission pieces in suburban areas and stuff like that. So Ryan, when did you start getting into the hanging ropes and stuff like that?
Uh, Probably I'd say at least 6 years ago, maybe a little bit longer. I was doing it before a lot of other people were. I was seeing it on social media, like on small YouTube channels that weren't blowing up, and it just got to the point where I was always going out there hanging a limb, and it got down to like, oh, if I hang this limb in September, are all the leaves going to fall off by October when I need them on there? A lot of stress and timing, and then year after year going back in there and putting them in. So that's when I started looking into it a little bit more. My first year, I went to Tractor Supply and I bought rope. Don't ever do that. That was, I don't know what kind of rope that was, but basically, I mean, the deer touched it, but they didn't like it, and it would last like 3 months and literally fall apart. So
Hmm.
then that's when I started finding the stuff on Amazon and making my own ropes. The reason why I did that was because there was Hodag ropes at the time,
Mm-hmm.
but boy, those ropes were $50 a rope, and that's just not feasible for anybody. And so yeah, I started pretty early, so I've got years of game trail camera pictures, and then now video because the cameras are getting that much more advanced. But uh, I've been using them a while, and I love them.
Yeah, no, that's cool. That's why it definitely it'd be fun to have you talking about it when we get into your rope specifically,
Yeah.
Tom. But as to why it stands out more than others and what you do to make it that way. So
Yeah.
you got into ropes and experimenting with different stuff, and you decided, hey, I'm going to give this a shot. So
Yeah.
when did you think, man, I'm gonna give this a try, and you start experimenting and stuff? Start from the beginning of that stage of getting started.
Yeah, before I get into that, and like Ryan said, he's been using them for a while, and if I'm not mistaken, I want to say the Wenzel brothers, started using these, 15, 20 plus years ago, right? So the concept has been around for a while.
Hmm.
It's not, something brand new. It's kind of been around, and I've noticed from my time in police work, things kind of go through cycles, right? I did a lot of highway interdiction work, and the spots guys would hide stuff in their cars. Like a couple years, they would hide stuff there, and then the police start to find it, right? So then they change their tactics, right? And
Yeah.
they change it up, and eventually we would go on to that, and then guess what? They circle back to what they were doing before. So everything, in different aspects of life goes through cycles. So I think um, for whatever reason, this past year, the rope just kind of got like a resurgence, if you will. Like Ryan said, there's some products out there. Hodag, one of them. Code Blue, Tinks. At this point, knowing what was already out there in the market, right? I saw Don's video, decided, what, this can get pricey if I run a bunch of these on all my different properties, right? So ordered rope, got the supply, started making them, and knowing what I knew about what was already out there in the market, that prompted me to go on to the website of a guy over in New Jersey that has a deer scent company. So I was on his website looking at his products, and along with your typical doe urine, doe and heat, buck urine, all that kind of stuff, he had pre-orbital scent. He had scent nuggets, scrape nuggets. I got a little jar here, Signal 11. He's got scrape nuggets. I'm like, it's perfect, right? He had everything that would go well with a rope scrape if you wanted, but he didn't have the rope. So I reached out to him and said, hey, did you ever consider adding a rope to your product lineup? He goes, I would love to. I just don't have the time to do it, because he does turkey calls, he does deer mineral, he does fishing baits. He's literally
It's
got
in everything.
he does everything. So last thing he has time to do is chop up a bunch of rope, put it all together, package it up, come up with a name, market it, all that kind of stuff.
Yeah.
So I said, well, this is what I have. This is what I'm doing for myself. Like, would you be interested, if I made you some? He's like, yeah, make me 90 of them. I'm like, okay.
Mm-hmm.
So ordered more rope. And again, at this point, these were very kind of like basic, right? Because all Don Higgins used was like a 5-foot length of jute rope, a piece of 14 gauge galvanized wire. That was it. Like his were very simple, and they work. Nothing wrong with that, right? So that's the initial 90 that I made were 5 foot ropes with some heat shrink at the top and bottom, and a piece of like a 10-inch piece of galvanized wire that I would coil up to make it look nice, and threw it in a 4 millimeter Ziploc bag, and away they went. So
Hmm.
it came time, I had the ropes all made, and I was like, all right, how are we going to work this financially, right? Do you want to give me a percentage of each one of these that you sell, or like, how do you want to work it? So he suggested just buying the ropes for me. So I came up with a price for that, and he bought the ropes. And then 2 days later, I was like, all right, so if he's just buying the ropes for me, what's keeping me from selling ropes to, X, Y, and Z, deer scent company that already doesn't have a rope option? Right. So like down the rabbit hole we went, I just started researching deer scent companies, if they had, products that would pair well with a rope or a scrape. I reached out to them. And
Yeah, you're in a good situation at this point because you're not just focused in on one guy making it for one guy. You
no,
you have the ability to, mass produce these things and put their own spin on it. So
yeah, initially I would have been, if I just would have been making ropes for him, that would have been awesome. Like I really had no intentions of making this a business until like the kind of hit me. He's like, well, maybe I could, let me see what the interest is at least, right?
yeah,
My goal was to give those guys like a product that they could put in a retail location at a price and be competitive with the other options that were already out there.
right.
Like I said, the more and more people I talked to, more and more interest there was in it. Everywhere from, I'm going to say he was my first in Jersey. A guy up in the Adirondacks was the next, a scent company up there. And then a guy in Louisiana, and all around. And
Started spreading. Yeah.
yeah,
How did your first ones do? Did you get any feedback from them? Like,
yeah,
yeah, these are great. Don't change anything, or was it like, hey, these are good, but
the feedback was good. Like he liked them. Like he was pleased with them. He put a kit together and had all that stuff, and he sold a bunch of them. And
yeah,
at the time, I think neither of us really knew like what the future held at that point. So the more of these I made, the more I wanted to improve on them, make them better, right?
hmm,
So that kind of naturally just kind of went that way. And Ryan can speak to this too. When you get these ropes, and I use a jute rope, and the reason I do, number one, it's way more affordable than pure
Yep.
hemp. Pure hemp, like I said, pure hemp is kind of pushed in the space of rope scrapes as it's like the best, right? It's got to be hemp, and a lot of descriptors you see on a lot of these websites of the guys selling rope, the word hemp gets thrown around a lot. And then I'm sure Ryan is familiar with this too.
mm-hmm.
Like a lot of people say they have a hemp rope, and you'll look at it and be like, that's not a hemp rope. Like it's some other kind of rope. They're just throwing that word around because they know that's what hunters
Yeah.
are kind
That's the marketing term that people are familiar with as scrape rope hemp.
Yep.
exactly. And this is a hemp rope right here. And you can see like it looks nice, it feels nice, it's nice and smooth. There's not, you can see a few hairs kind of sticking off of it, not
Mm-hmm.
right. Like it looks great. I call it the Porsche or Cadillac of ropes, right? It looks sexy, it feels sexy. And this is a rope that Ryan is familiar with and I use. A lot more capillaries coming up. It's more coarse, it's more rough. And if you're a deer rubbing up against something, do you want to feel something that's smooth? Do you want to feel something that's a little more abrasive, right?
Yep.
To something,
Right.
latch on to whatever scent that they're trying to deposit, right? And this is what I refer to this as like the Chevy work truck of ropes, right? Dependable, it's reliable, it's going to do the job. It's going to outperform this in the category that it's supposed to, right? Ropes are all about scent retention. We want scent to stay on here. And if I take a spray bottle of water and spray this rope, you're going to notice the water is going to beat up initially, right? If you spray this rope, the jute rope, it's going to absorb in. You'll see the fibers start to darken immediately, which is what we want, right? We want that latch in there, grab a hold. So, for way less money, like I bought this rope and I made it with my same components as hemp rope. Just the rope itself was 4 times, of what the cost of what my material is. And that's before I even put any heat shrink, my attachment method, spend any time on it whatsoever. Just, right out of the gate, I'm 4 times the cost just in rope.
Yeah, and you're not really getting anything more
That
that's worth it at that point.
that is actually how me and Tom met. I made a TikTok putting those companies on blast because
Oh yeah.
I was seeing what these. I was at Bass Pro Shop and I was seeing these people buy these ropes, and I was like, man, that you could do it for way more affordable price and have way more ropes. There was literally nobody on the market that had an affordable rope. Nobody. They all were blasting hemp rope. You had to have this specific rope, and I was like, whoa. I've got the surveillance footage of every single deer walking into a property going to a rope because I sometimes some on these smaller properties I can cover the whole property. And
Hmm.
Yeah.
so I had the proof that they go to these ropes. This rope works just fine. And I put companies on blast. And that's when Tom messaged me. He's like, hey, I want you to try my ropes. And my ropes are way more affordable. And he sent me the link, and I was like, wow. Yeah, by the time I buy the rope and put my time into making the ropes, I was like, I'd purchase from you all day. That was the first
Yeah.
affordable rope company I've seen, for sure.
Yeah.
Okay. So when you first started, what kind of price are you talking about here for getting you to order online? How much is it costing?
For mine or for the
Yeah, for yours. For yours.
for mine, like I'm gonna say my 3 foot rope is like 18.99,
Okay. Yeah.
and
Yeah, that's what I was just a relative price. Talking $50 for these other bigger companies or whatever. But yeah, no,
yeah,
that's
and
that's a significant difference.
and Ryan knows this too. Go out there, and I'm not gonna say anything negative about any company. That's
Right.
kind of I don't want to do that, but I've seen what's out there, and I've felt some of these ropes, and some of them you feel them, and there's no way how is anything going to absorb in this, right? And then they give you a giant jug, and you're supposed to like saturate the rope in it, and like who wants to deal with all that mess, right? And
Mhm.
like the only negative side, and Ryan is aware of this with the jute rope, is the odor, that petrol excuse me, that petroleum odor that comes from the manufacturing process, and the reason it has that is because these fibers are naturally shorter than the hemp fibers. The reason a hemp rope looks nicer, feels nicer, is because those plant fibers are just longer. So they weave together nicer, and you get a nicer looking finished product, right? It's going to feel nicer. It may be stronger. Like if we're making rope swings or something like that, yeah, maybe you want to go with a pure hemp rope, right? But we're not swinging on these. So we want scent retention and we want affordability, right? That's what we want. So um, back to that smell, right? One of the first ropes I sent down to a guy down in Louisiana with a deer scent company. He got the rope and he calls me up. He's like, Tom, this rope has this, it smells like petroleum. Like it stinks. Like this is no good. I said, I know, like you hang it out and weather it, over the summer. If you get it out when we should be making our scrapes, right? Not going to be an issue. It's going to have time to weather. That odor is not going to be a problem. But I knew, like, somebody opens that up and they smell that. That's not good, right? Like,
Yeah.
we can smell it. Like, deer can definitely smell it.
That's what I said last time when we had a short conversation. It's like we're smelling something. That deer's smelling it 2 miles away. Like
Oh,
it's
100.
that much worse.
So I was like, yeah, I gotta work on that. So one night at like 3 in the morning, it hit me like in the middle of the night. I'm like, ozone. Like I have to give ozone a shot, right? Because I
Yeah.
ozone my hunting clothes, still had the tote, um, whatever. It kills elastic. We're all aware of that. So at that point, I stopped using it for a while, but I still had the tote. I still had the machine. So pulled it out, fired it up, threw a rope in there. I don't know how long it was even in there initially. I pulled it out. To me, it smelled different. So I threw it in a Ziploc, mailed it down to Louisiana. Like 2 or 3 days later, he gets it, and I'm like, I mean, the whole time I'm just like on edge, like, what's he going to say when he gets it, right? So
Yeah.
he calls me up. He's like, I opened the package. He goes, smells like a different rope. Like that smell is gone. I'm like,
Yeah.
all right. So I was like, at that point, like I think we're on to something here, right?
Yeah. It's like light bulb just went off for sure.
Huge light bulb. So I'm like, all right, now we're kind of leveling the playing field here. Like we can get rid of this odor. This thing is ready to go, like right out of the gate. No breaking in, no seasoning, no hanging it outside for 10 days before you take it to the woods. None of that business, right? So yeah, so from there on out, like started working on that process, right? Like I had my toad, and I still use it. It's a 27 quart toad. It's not big. I don't do hundreds of these at a time. Like, I still do small batches. Um, and I've honed that process in now to where I got it dialed in pretty good. So I know how long, I know all that stuff. So
Yeah.
yeah, that process is dialed in. And initially I was just putting them back in the Ziploc bags, but I'm like, air can get in there, they can leak, not good. So I was like, all right, what's the next? How can I preserve it? Now that I got it in this scent neutral state, what can I do to preserve it like this? So I was like,
Yeah, because these things are absorbing odors that are around them like crazy. You set them in your kitchen, you cook something, that stuff's getting in there.
oh, 100%.
So yeah.
Yeah, so I was like, all right, we got to be careful, and not to mention, like, if I send a bunch of these to Louisiana, right, it gets hot and humid down there in the summer, and some guy leaves this out in his garage, like that Ziploc is gonna like, it's gonna puff up, like who knows what's gonna happen, right? Air's gonna get in.
Yeah.
So up to the kitchen, we pulled out the vacuum seal machine from the cupboard, and I still had a couple, vacuum seal bags, and threw one in there, and it worked, right? It didn't, and now at this point, I kind of moved away from just that 14 gauge galvanized wire. I transitioned over to this. It's a plastic coated, it's a galvanized wire still, but it's coated in plastic. Comes with a nice little end cap on it to keep it from poking through the bag. Right. This really doesn't
Yep.
affect functionality. It's more so it doesn't puncture the bag. Right.
Mhm.
But I mean, these are in here like good. And
Right.
that's this like these are strong. They're not coming out, but you can see how easy I can bend it with my hands, right? So it's easy. It's already on here. We're not using zip ties. We're not using wire ties. We're not using gear ties. We're not using paracord. Some of the ropes I've bought from the stores give you, a piece of twine that's about this thick, right? And Ryan probably a twine to tie this thing up to the tree. It's like, all right, that's going to last all but 5 minutes, right? So, I like the idea of the galvanized wire, but with that, you're taking a pair of pliers with you into the woods, right? You got to wrap it around there. You got to twist it. Then if God forbid you wanted to move it, like that was a hassle, right? So I needed something easier. This way, this is it. Like it's super simple. You can put it up, take it down within seconds. You're not having to take zip ties or wire cutters or
Yeah.
you know.
Yeah, you were constantly stepping up there real quick. Everything was changing. Seems like pretty rapidly. It's
Yeah,
like, oh well, this isn't
Oh, it
working.
was
This isn't
it
doing
was
this.
rapid.
yeah,
From his first rope that he sent me to now, a lot's changed for the better.
That's good. Yeah, no,
Yeah.
that's good.
right. So, and the heat shrink, yeah, the heat shrink got a lot cleaner on the ropes. Like the first ones I made, I look back at some pictures I had, and I'm like, you could see ropes sticking out from the top, and I'm like, what the heck was I thinking, right? But yeah,
Yeah.
I just cosmetically, made them look a lot nicer.
Mm-hmm.
The heat shrink I use is a marine grade heat shrink. It's a 3-to-1, so it shrinks down really good on this 1 inch rope. Not only that, there's adhesive on the inside, so it
So it's
shrinks
sticking to yeah.
and sticks to. So these are not going to come undone. They're not going to fall apart on you after a season hanging out there. And that's pretty.
It'd be interesting to know like how long now that you got that system and that your final setup right there. I'm sure in the future you might make more tweaks as things come along. Who knows? But like how long they might last, how long you could get out of a rope. Obviously, it's probably going to depend on how much deer are actually hammering it.
I'll
Some
give you a
spots probably better than
guess.
others.
I'll give you a guess. There's no
How long
doubt.
your oldest one?
There's no doubt because I've ran ropes for so long, and I still have ropes up from whenever I started 8 years ago. There's no doubt these are lasting at least 10 years. No doubt.
Yeah. Are they fraying yet, or are they staying solid
They
with the
start.
shrink wraps at the end?
They'll turn
Like,
colors, I'm sure. They'll probably get a darker color. That's what I've noticed ropes do. They turn a little darker, but honestly, the more frayed a rope gets, I think the better it gets. So
yeah,
the uglier
Yeah,
it gets, the rougher it gets, the more frayed it gets, I think you're just getting better.
yeah,
yeah,
yeah. It's only going to get better. And like Ryan said, they're going to change colors, and that has
Yeah.
nothing to do with the rope
Right.
itself. Just the environment.
Yeah,
right.
I think
Oh yeah.
Moultrie's is it Moultrie that came out with a blue rope? Is that what I saw?
Uh, Code
No,
Blue.
I've seen it.
Blue Code. Blue Code. You're
Yeah,
right.
yeah. Code Blue has the blue rope.
Yeah, Code Blue.
And I looked at the material on that is like a synthetic and polyester, I
That
believe.
is the rope. That same rope is the rope that you can buy at Tractor Supply. Do not buy that rope. It'll last. You'll get 60 days out of it. You'll get a rut.
Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah. And I
That's
know,
fun.
like, and they're short too. They're
Yeah.
like 30 some inches maybe at most. Like, I don't know, like, Ryan and I are kind of same too. Like, I hang them waist level. Like,
I was gonna say, yeah.
I want a
So
fawn to be able to hit that rope.
you got these ropes, okay? You get this out. Where am I taking this thing, and how high am I taking it up in the air? What am I looking for when I'm like, all right, I got these ropes. Where do I want to put them? Both of you can answer. I mean, Ryan, you've been doing it forever. If you had, where are you putting your ropes?
Uh,
What's it looking like?
well, most people who fail with their ropes, who think ropes do not work, it's because they put them in the wrong area. You're not gonna, if you have a patch of woods that there's not deer in, they're not gonna come from the next patch over just to hit your rope. Definitely needs to
Yeah.
be in a transition area, on the edge of bedding to food, anywhere the deer are feeding. If you have a food plot, green food plot, put that sucker right in the middle because they're curious. They're going to see it and they're going to come hit it. And all it takes, I'm telling you, it might take 2 to 3 days for a deer to hit it, but as soon as that first deer hits it, it will be every single night there will be a deer on that rope. It just takes one deer to touch that rope. So
Yeah.
She gets her scent, and then everybody else is wanting a part of it.
and like Tom was saying, the height is another huge one that I see people fail on. If that I would rather have the rope too low than too high. I want every single deer that comes through there to be able to touch that without struggling. A
Yeah.
buck, a buck, a buck will bend his head down to get this thing all wrapped up in there, like 100%. So height is definitely something very important, and transition areas are my favorite 100%.
So you would be comfortable putting it in like 2 foot off the ground?
So I've actually experimented with that, not intentionally. I so whenever you hang your ropes in the spring or summer, or mainly in the summer, you got all the leaves on the tree. The limbs are heavier. When the leaves fall off, it goes higher. So one year I hung a rope for my neighbor, and I put it 2 feet off the ground. I was like, dude, it might go another foot higher. I was looking at how heavy the limb was. It did not go up. that limb never went up. That thing stayed 2 feet off the ground, and every big buck walked to it, put its head under it, and lifted it right up. So
No kidding.
I'd rather
Yeah.
have now. If you go too low, like 2 feet, you'll get a lot of raccoons coming up, bobcats coming up, playing with it. So, yeah,
Yeah.
waist level.
It's a toy at that point, yeah.
Yeah,
Yeah,
waist
that makes
level.
sense.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay. That's a good rule of thumb, which I mean, maybe not for you because Ron, you're a
No,
bit
yeah.
bigger of a guy. I
I
don't know
tell
about you,
people
Tom, but
I tell people waist level, but I go a foot lower than my waist.
yeah.
6'6".
Uh,
Yeah.
so do you in the same boat there, Tom? Transitions bed to feed or stay on feed. What are you looking at?
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, like Ryan said, close to bedding, as close as you can get to bedding without boogering up your bedding. Like, that's, I had one that it was in a transition area and it was getting minimal activity. I moved it about 30 yards closer to the bedding area and it took off like wildfire. Like,
Really?
the day I hung it, that same night, one of the biggest bucks in the area was in there just going crazy, thrashing trees, making his own scrapes right next to it. Like, it pissed him off like something.
Huh. So are you seeing more daylight or nighttime activity, or is it all random?
I have both.
Um, you get both, but as we all know, in general, a lot of your scrape activity is at night.
Right.
That's the nature of scrapes, right? But you do get day. I had just the other day, 2 or 3 days ago, I had daylight action on some of my ropes up here. Um, it becomes like, Brian and I both agree on the location, right? When you do get them in that right location, it becomes part of their like routine almost, right? Because let's face it, like right now, this time of year, deer aren't focused on scrapes whatsoever, right? They're focused about food. The does, are pregnant. They're worried about, being able to have, give birth to fawns in a couple months here. The bucks are worn down from the rut. They're about food. It's all about recovery, right?
Yeah.
And the fact that they still hit some of these ropes periodically at this time of year, I think that speaks a lot to, having them in the right location.
Yeah, no, it's a great sign for sure. What time of the year are you? Would you rather put them out? Like, if you had to pick, like 1 month of the year, this is when I want to get it started and established. When are you putting it out?
I would feel comfortable putting it out as early as March, mid March, late March. Once the weather breaks, that's when I like to do a lot of my scouting anyway. But just because it's before everything starts to green up, and the trails aren't as exposed as what they are now.
Right.
That all that is great knowledge, right? Knowing where your trails are, putting them, on or close to those trails or where they intersect. And just finding other natural scrapes that exist out there too. If you want to add a rope to those, that's an option. But yeah, I would feel really there is no bad time to start a mock scrape.
My
Yeah.
my opinion on that is, I think deer are going to hit the rope for sure within 5 days of you hanging it. I think a lot of people get worried about the scent, like you were talking about, the smell of the rope. I used to, before anybody was even talking about the smell of the rope, I used to take them out of a package. I would drag them through the mud. That's exactly what I would do. I would drag it through the mud. But the same people complaining about the smell of the rope are the same people putting 5 different store-bought scents on the rope. I,
Right.
I mean, I'd rather leave no scent on. I'd rather have no scent on the rope. And if you're worried about the smell of the rope, then don't put 5 fake scents on the rope. It's the same thing. But
Yeah. That was
I
gonna.
you can do it all year. You can put them ropes out now. I think with the way Tom does it with the vacuum sealing, I would be really confident. Well, I know I do it. If I find a transition area October 28th or 25th or November 12th, and I got a rope on me, I'm putting it up and I'm hunting it.
Mhm.
Yeah,
You're confident in
yeah. I hunt over ropes. Like, I've gotten to the point now where I almost don't hunt a spot unless there's a rope in range.
Yeah.
No kidding.
I'm three of the I've shot a bunch of bucks the last couple of years, but three of those bucks I shot right out of a rope scrape. Right
No
out of a rope
kidding.
scrape.
That's pretty good testimonial. I
Mm-hmm.
mean, there's no denying it.
Yeah.
I was gonna go to the next, but you say you don't hunt too far away from them or right on them. Or is there any rule of thumb that you like to go by on how many you're putting in an area? Or you
Mm.
wanting to keep it like isolated, like one per property, or what
But
are you looking at there?
before I answer that, I want to hear what Tom says because I know I've had a lot of experience in this.
Yeah.
Tom's gonna say you need to put one about every 30 yards.
Yeah. The more, I try not to I try to space them out enough. All right. I don't like putting them too close to one another. I try to space them out enough. Um, So it all depends on the size of the property, right? You may be able to get away with more on some properties or less on others. And I monitor them too. Like if they're getting action, then I'll keep the camera on them. If not, like I'll move it, right? Otherwise, and that's where you go back to what the definition of insanity is, right? He's doing the same thing over and over again, expecting a different result. Like if you hang it somewhere and deer aren't using it, like move it, right? Nothing, you're not.
Right.
Nothing is in stone that you have to leave it there. Like
Right.
move it. I them all the time, right? And that's mock scrapes are a lot of trial and error. Just that too. And deer have personalities, right? Some deer are more likely to use these than others. Some deer may come to them or look at them but not use them. And Ted Miller said the same thing about his horizontal rubs too. He's put horizontal rubs out that some deer will just come to. They'll look at it, they won't go near it, but other bucks are all over. So it comes down to specific deer as well, I think.
Yeah. Now that makes perfect sense to me. Ryan, what's your opinion on it?
So if I'm hunting a 15-acre square, I've got to stand for every single wind on each side of the property. Okay. If I've got to stand there, so if I got 15 acres and I got 4 stands on that property, I've got a rope 25 yards from that stand. Because I know if I'm hunting that wind and that deer is going to be walking downwind of the bedding area or those scrapes, I want to know that if that deer is doing it that day, he's stopping at that rope. It's going to be at 25 yards. His head's going to be in it, and it's going to allow all the movement in the world. So I'm hanging them. I'm hanging them.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I get it. It makes both make perfect sense.
Yeah.
I mean, why not? They're opposite sides of the farm. If that's the direction they're headed that day,
Yeah.
it's not like they're competing with the rope that's on the other 10 acres away or whatever,
No,
you know.
and
So
I've got cameras on these ropes. The deer come from the north, hit the rope on the north side of the property, wrap around the very edge of the property, downwind side, hit the rope on the west side of the property, leave on the south side, and hit that rope out. So they
Yeah.
hit
I
them.
mean, you think about just regular, scrapes on the ground. It's the same thing. There's scrapes everywhere. You'll
Well,
see scrapes every,
scrape
you
lines,
know what I mean?
scrape lines.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Yeah.
some will be within 5 feet of each other. That's just what they do. So I don't know why there would be any difference with a rope. It's just all about scent and deer marking where they're at, and hey, I'm here.
Yeah.
And then the next one comes through.
I
So
think I
Yeah.
think
why not?
another benefit of these ropes are, if I find a really big natural scrape, I don't hang a rope on that scrape because it's natural. It's there. But give it four
Yeah,
years. 4 years from now, that limb's going to be too high. That's when I hang that rope.
Yeah.
When that limb gets too high, I hang it on that, and they just keep hitting it. So that's a big benefit of the rope.
Yeah. It's a great.
yeah,
And much like Ryan was saying too, Tony LaPratt, if you're familiar with him, he's out in Michigan. He doesn't have a ton of land. I'm going to say he may have 50 to 60 acres,
Yeah, that's
right? He's
all
not,
it is.
but he uses a ton of rope scrapes on his property because he's got to keep the bucks on his property, right? And otherwise they're going to venture, off and he's never going to have a crack at them. But in order to keep the bucks on his property, he sets up a lot of these scrapes. And like Ryan was saying, they're going to check multiple scrapes. All right. And that's kind of the methodology that Tony relies on too. These deer are just going to check one after the other. Like they kind of get in a pattern of checking these. And that's really, what enabled him to shoot a lot of the deer he has over the years.
yeah. No, it's a good point. I mean, I've used uh two maybe. I got some at a local like hardware store, and I let it set out and hung it. But deer hit it. I don't shrink wrap. I didn't shrink wrap it or nothing, but like it's all tore to crap. Like it just
Yeah.
frayed everywhere, and it's at my house. I was like, I'm gonna put this here and just see what happens. But I'm definitely like after hearing the conversation, looking it up, seeing some of your stuff, and Ryan talking about it. It's like it's a tool to use, and it's kind of silly not to do it for how easy and cheap it is
Yeah.
to do it. If it's gonna increase your odds of a deer coming by and stopping for 20-30 seconds, giving you a shot without being on edge the whole time,
Right.
throw them out.
Right. Yeah. It's the same reason guys use ozonics, right? Or guys use nose jammer, whatever the case is. If it gives you an extra 2 or 3 seconds, or it allows that deer to take an extra 2 or 3 steps downwind of you, or whatever it's all about. It's a game of inches, and a lot of the products out there, it's not going to make a mile of difference, but it may make a couple inches, and most
That's what it takes.
that may be enough.
Yeah,
I've
for
got a
sure.
I've got a rope 15 yards from a ladder stand, not even high off the ground. And I had a kid DM me, and he was like, "No way, no shot. You can kill a buck out of that stand. You're getting busted every time." So I started sending him videos of me in that stand and bucks coming up to that rope, and I'm talking bucks that most people would shoot, 130 inchers, 3-year-old 130-inch bucks. They don't see me because they're doing this the whole time. The whole
Yeah.
time. You
Yeah,
can get away. You can get away with whatever you want. They're doing this. They're paw on the ground. Yeah. So it's a big advantage. It's a big advantage instead of just having a little licking limb that they're just up there licking. They can still see movement because they're not moving. But when it's a rope, they are wrapping that sucker up in their rack and tarsal glands and everything else. Huge advantage.
They'll chew on it too. You get
Yes.
them on chewing on the rope. They love chewing on the rope.
Yes.
any way they can put their sin in there.
Yeah.
I believe that's the whole point. So
Yeah.
whatever it takes for them, I guess.
Yeah. And I know Ryan doesn't use any scent on his. He just kind of hangs them out. And I think a lot of guys, it's one of those, a lot of guys think more is better. Like, oh, I'm really going to let me get a ton of scent on here. Right. And my methodology, my way of thinking is like a little bit goes a long way, right? We've all been at that party where a guy walks in, he's got way too much cologne on, and
Yep.
it's not a turn on at that point. Like it's more like off putting than anything, right? And I think I think that's kind of the way it is with deer and this, the scent. Because right now, let's face it, there's a scent from like literally every orifice on a deer's head that's out there, right? Guys have earwax, they got saliva, they got preorbital, they got all this. If it comes off a deer's head, they got it in the bottle, right? And some guys are out there like lathering up these ropes, and it's just, I think it's way too much, right? If a deer will use rope with nothing on it, put their scent on it, I honestly think that's the best route to go.
Yeah, you can't argue with natural scent. There's gonna be um, what the proper word is, but there's gonna be other stuff mixed in when guys are taking deer and creating other, putting it in bottles and stuff. It's gonna be tampered with. It's not gonna be pure stuff. As much as they want to say it's 100% this, that's
It's
just
not.
not possible.
It's not. And
So
so in the past, I've used scents, and I learned really quick that I had better luck without them. And then this year, I actually decided to play with it a little bit more. Just not all my ropes, no, just some of the ropes. And
Mm-hmm.
same thing, it came right back to me. I'm like, wow, those big mature bucks. I'm not saying you can't get a 2-year-old to come up there and play in that rope or a doe, but I feel like as soon as you put those scents on there, those big mature bucks might come touch it one time, and then you'll get them on camera going big loop away. It's like
Mm-hmm.
mm,
they know. I mean, they're getting pressured. Yeah, Lee and Tiffany Lakowski got a 4,000-acre farm that a deer never smells a human except for them. You could probably get away with it. But the
Yeah.
average
yeah,
the average guy hunting 800 acres down to 1 acre, those deer have smelt it numerous times.
Oh yeah.
Yeah. So
yeah.
not
Again, I think it's all dependent on the deer, the specific deer,
Mm-hmm.
his attitude, his demeanor, where he's at,
yep,
time of the year.
Yeah.
Sometimes it'll work, sometimes it won't. The little orbs you put on the ground, I've seen it work. I've seen people shoot them over those little
yeah,
things.
Mm-hmm.
It's just based on the deer. But
yep,
again,
yep.
if it increases your chances, you think, and use it.
Right.
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
Every
We're
every deer is different. 100%. Every deer is different.
yeah, we can talk off air then, but we're myself and another guy working on a product that will play well with the ropes. It,
okay, so something to look forward to here. A little sneak peek.
yeah. Yeah.
Letting the secret out.
A little bit. We're still
Yeah.
early stages. We'll have some stuff available for testing later in the summer, so we'll see. Yeah, we'll discuss.
Yeah, well, whenever that gets out, and you feel like you've got it to where you're ready to sell and stuff, we'll get back on
Yeah.
and discuss what it is and see what the evidence is behind it, what you've seen
Mm-hmm.
putting it out and stuff. I think that'd be really neat. I know we're kind of at a weird time, beginning of March, but it's like it's time, if you want to start establishing them to get them out. So, um, Tom, where can people find these ropes at?
I do most of my content on Instagram. You can get to my Shopify store through Instagram,
Okay.
or Facebook as well. I have a Facebook page, The Scrape Rope Co. Um, or you can just go into your web browser, type thescraperopeco.com, and my store will pop up. That's the easiest. TikTok too. I don't do too much on TikTok, but I'm starting to bleed over into there a little bit. Also, like I said, I started out working with, last year I worked with about 20 to 25 different scent companies all across the country. And I kind of knew like, all right, that's kind of one avenue to explore. There's other avenues out there. We got guys that the habitat consultants or the land managers, these guys doing habitat work, food plots, water holes, all that kind of stuff. Like it seems like there's more of those guys than there ever were, right? There's
Yeah.
a bunch of those guys out there, and a lot of them are good, right? There's a lot of content out there, a lot of guys doing stuff. So, and a lot of guys who are using the rope scrapes. So, I've slowly been finding the right people out there, and I'm starting to work with a number of those, habitat managers, couple outfitters on board so far. Because say you got guys that manage, there's a guy in I'm gonna say South Indiana, Old Oak, Triple Oak Outfitters. I talked with him. I think he manages, like 70 some farms. Right, that's a lot of rope scrapes you can hang. So, outfitters are another avenue I'm kind of exploring. And then the last, I'm starting to get into the retail space a little bit.
Yep.
I already got into about 4 stores here in PA. Going to be in a bunch out in Wisconsin here, very shortly. And just looking to get into the mom and pop store, the archery pro shops. I want to keep it, kind of keep it at that. I want people to be able to go into their archery. I love the idea of having pro shops, right? Just that local shop that you can go into and, where you don't have to buy your stuff off of Amazon or whatever.
Yeah. You establish a relationship with people that way, and
Yeah.
that's what it's all about. So
Yep.
yeah, I totally get that.
We're
Yeah.
gonna.
And
Go ahead.
the product I'm offering in that space, I looked at, what were my most popular ropes that I sold to the scent companies, right? And they were 3 and 4 foot ropes. So I wanted something that would cover the most amount of people. So for my retail rope, it's a 3.5 foot rope. So it's kind of the midpoint of my best selling ropes. And I think that will accommodate the vast majority of the setups out there for most folks. It's not too long, it's not too short. And it's something that I'm not going to sell it on my store. It's something that is unique to just the habitat guys, outfitters, and the retail stores. So if you want that rope, you'll have to go to your store, to get it.
Yeah.
That's
What were you gonna say, Ryan?
Well, one thing I'm gonna say real quick before I forget. Tom, am I allowed to talk about your different types of ropes, like the different stuff you've done to them?
yeah. We've experimented. And I don't really sell any of these yet, but yeah, just I'm always looking for the next, the next variation or iteration or whatever it is. But yeah, Ryan and I kind of do some experimenting. He's my guinea pig.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So you got your shrink wrap here. He's got some of that wire in this shrink wrap probes coming out. So many times them deer love to come up and they like something hard to rub in those glands right there. Just little things like that. Tom's came out with
Huh.
ropes that inside the shrink wrap and inside your fluff here is a 8-inch piece of vine. Some guys love vines hanging out. So just an 8-inch piece of vine that's shrink wrapped in just to give that deer a little something stiff in there. Tom's ran wire
That's interesting.
he's ran wire all the way through the rope. Makes it
Wow.
stiff. I mean, he's the guy. He's seared the rope before just to give it a little bit more of a vine look. But to go back what I was talking about, don't let Tom downplay this. He was talking about some of his outfitters and stuff. He's got some social media stars on board. Spookspan,
I've noticed.
Yeah.
Spookspan killed the most 200s in the world, 20 plus, maybe 30. Nobody really knows. Spooks
Yeah.
using these ropes. Caleb Griner used to be with Midwest Whitetail. Now he's the Flatlander. Like, yeah, there's some guys using these ropes. You want to see a big deer use the rope? Go to Caleb Griner's page on YouTube.
Yeah, he sent me a bunch of videos, and I got, Ryan's the one who recommended I reach out to him. So I reached out to him, and he's an awesome dude. First of all,
Yeah.
we had a great conversation on the phone. I sent him some of my hybrid ropes out there with the piece of vine on it, and he's got giants out there just hammering these ropes.
Nice.
One of them actually managed to rip it down, but we're talking like Iowa deer with some serious
Right.
headgear, right? I made him another one with like 2 of these. I put 2 of my attachment things at the top just so it would, give a little.
200-inch deer proof.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Bears yank on them. Guys send me videos of bears yanking on them. I mentioned Tony LaPrat earlier. I ran into Tony up at the Great American Outdoor Show this year, and started talking with him. And he's been using ropes for a long time. He used to pull them out of old hay barns. The ropes that you use on the pulley systems to raise the hay bales. Right? They were great because nobody touched them for years and years.
Right.
And he said the problem with these ropes today is they smell like petroleum. So, that was a great segue into the conversation we had. So,
Yeah.
that was on a Thursday. The following Tuesday or Wednesday, my phone rings and it's a Michigan number. And I'm like, all right, I answer it. And it's Tony. And he's like, hey, I you at the outdoor show. I'm home unpacking all my stuff. And, I really like you. I want to use them. And I'm like, that's great. And he's like, my wife will call you tomorrow, set everything up. Okay, great, Tony. So the next day I talked with his wife, and he wanted during that initial conversation, he goes, I want 20 of these. All right. I'm like, awesome. Right. So I talked to his wife the next day, and 20 turned into 30, and then 30 turned into an extra 50 So he wanted to be able to sell them to the people that came to his boot camps. He started just this past weekend was his first one, and then every weekend, up through, I don't know, early summer maybe, he does boot camps, and yeah, he wants to sell them to guys that come through his boot camp. That's how much he believes in them.
Yeah, I mean, you got guys talking like that, and then some of the other guys you mentioned, people are going to start. People are going to buy it. If these people were talking about it, I mean, yeah,
Hey,
you might as well just get ready because they're buying.
I'm a
Yeah,
nobody, but me and Tom are going to get about 20 ropes down here in the taxidermy shop. So this summer, when people start picking up their bucks, we're going to be selling them out of here too. So
There you go.
anybody local, come
Yeah,
get them.
that's what I was say. If anybody's listening to this that has a shop like that, or that knows somebody, or their
Yeah.
family, whatever,
yeah,
contact Tom. You can find him on any social media, and he can.
yeah.
Contact
I'm not.
Tom or contact me.
Yeah,
Yeah,
Ryan or any of my field part. I'm getting a great group of guys together, and Ryan can attest to this too. Guys that are, a couple guys from Indiana there that are killers. I got, just added a guy from Ohio that's a killer. Um, I got a real good team of guys, and they use my product because they believe in it and they know it works, and they're killing great deer, and that's they see the long term value in these, right? That's my goal, was to get guys on my team, quote unquote, that saw the long term value in these, and not just something that you pay attention to the last 2 weeks of October.
Yep.
right.
I have
Yep, 100%.
the only complaint I have about these ropes, I have one complaint, is that the turkeys don't hit it. That's my only complaint. I'm waiting for Tom to come out with something that the turkeys will hit.
Yeah,
You're gonna have to tie him from tree to tree as a roost limb or something.
Yeah, I'll be out there
maybe like
lassoing those turkeys.
got a guillotine, like a fire, like I'm not.
Hey,
As,
this
I don't know.
this this deer was in the ropes. Yeah.
Nice.
165 inch, 3 or 4 years old. That's what we're going to
Yeah.
kill in the ropes next year, boys.
You can't argue with it.
I'm calling
No.
it right now.
Mm-hmm.
Calling it.
Me.
That's good stuff. Well, I don't want to take any more of your time. I know. I mean, you can talk about deer hunting all you want, and
Yeah,
that's
we
why I kind of.
we
I mean, I started this.
get.
Yeah, and like this conversation, it just can go and go. And I started doing this podcast because I enjoy talking to different people about it and
Yeah.
what they do, and just
Heck yeah.
hunting stories, and like we're coming along, like we're getting better and better anyway. So yeah, I mean, yeah, like I said, we're just little guys, but big dogs are talking about your product, and that's, I'm sure it's super exciting. And who
Yeah.
knows where it's going to lead you in the future, in the next 5 years, and what you're going to be doing and new
Right.
products and stuff. So it'll be fun to follow and see what comes out and where you go, and all these other big guys that start promoting your rope and all these monster bucks that are being killed on them.
Yeah, this year should be the year. Like last year, I was still kind of getting out there, and getting, like I said, a lot of my time was spent just getting them out to the scent companies, right? Nose Down Scents is one that I work with. They're based out of Tennessee. Jason has great products. He's a worker. He's at a festival or a show like every weekend, right? And I think I sold him over 600 ropes last year, and he sold them all. He really wasn't even trying to sell them, right? They just kind of sold themselves. I was with him up at Harrisburg for 2 days, and that's a long show up there. In 9 days, I think he sold almost 70 rope kits,
Dang.
which is pretty good. And he's always expanding, and who knows how many I'll make for him this year. So
Yeah, that's exciting.
yeah,
I,
yeah,
I
it's good.
think I think one thing worth noting with Tom's growth is we've also been talking about getting Tom out to some local conventions, either the NWTF, the Hunters Mobile Expo show that's out in Ohio, even the ATA show. I mean, there's a lot of the Indiana Deer and Expo. If I can get him to fly out here, I'll
Yeah,
have the setup. He's just got to bring the ropes. So we were talking about doing a show in the future.
yeah, definitely. That's definitely in the works. I'd like to do it this year, but we're kind of up against some deadlines. You already had to have your booths purchased or
Right.
stuff like that. For
Yep.
27, yeah, without a doubt. Right now we're trying to get our foot in the door into the retail space. That's been taking up a lot of my time and effort. But hopefully, each year we should get a little bit more established and things should be a little bit more smoother and stuff like that. And I can prepare, and because I really don't sit on a lot of inventory, right? I have stuff here that I can put stuff together, and at this point I've gotten really proficient at making these in a orderly amount of time. Right, it doesn't take me too long to whip together like 10 or 20 of them. But I just kind of go like batch to batch. Like I don't have, number one, I do this on the side, so I don't have time to just kind of sit there and make extra products. So as orders come in, I you know.
Yep.
Yeah. Yep. I get that for sure. Yeah, it'll be fun. See you next year. Maybe visit you at some shows, whatever. Especially if you come out here, I'll definitely come by and hang out at the booth. Shoot, I'll set up a mic and we'll just interview people.
Yeah.
Testimonials all day long.
Yeah.
Ryan's bringing the mounts.
Yep.
So
There you go. There you go.
Yeah.
Yeah, no, it'd be cool. I'll link your stuff. I'll link your whatever links you got, your website and your socials and stuff when I post it and different things.
I appreciate
And yeah, hopefully people reach out and see where it goes. And it was fun talking and learning about it. And this newish product, the fad that's not new, but everybody's moving to it, and it's here to stay. I think for the long run,
For sure.
people find out the value in them. So.
That's
Yeah, with that, I don't know if you have anything else here. But we'll shut her down and let you get back to it. But if anybody else has anything, you can say it now, or we'll hang it up.
I appreciate you having. Always great talking with you, Ryan and Logan. It's nice meeting you and talking with you, and I look forward to doing it again in the future.
Yeah, likewise. We'll definitely have you on. I know I had Ryan on once, but we get more and more information from him every time. So
Yeah. Appreciate it, fellas. That was fun.
Yes, sir.
Yeah. Yep. All right, guys. Appreciate it. You guys have a good rest of your evening.
Yep.
You too.